Greetings and welcome to the Drive Home Breakdown. I'm Brent Adams. Thank you for joining us once again. And this episode of the show is going to be something a little bit different, a little bit new. This is the pre-show for our trip to see Captain America Civil War, and we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things. We're going to talk about some of the news surrounding the DCEU, some of the news about Ben Affleck, specifically in relation to that, how he has been made an executive producer on the Justice League films, and some of the reporting that's been going on around that, and how, and I never thought I'd say this, that Ben Affleck might actually be the one to save the DC Extended Universe, but we'll get to all that in the show itself. Now, what's interesting about the show is that this is going to be the first time that we have broadcast the Drive Home Breakdown live from in the car on the way there, and that was a lot of fun. It's something that we've talked about doing. I've wanted to do it for a while, and we finally got all the pieces in place and we're able to make it happen. So that's also something that makes this episode a little bit interesting, and the same will be true for the next episode, Drive Home Breakdown 30, which is the Captain America Civil War conversation, and that is a lot of fun. You're really going to have a good time listening to that one, but we'll have time to get to all that later. For right now, enjoy the Drive Home Breakdown with myself and, of course, Tony Grice on our way to see Captain America Civil War. All right, and we are live for the very first time, Tony. The Drive Home Breakdown is coming to you live from the car on the way to see Captain America Civil War.
Do you remember when we used to talk about, like, man, I'd love to record these recordings. How can we even do that in the car? Now we're literally
live broadcasting
and live broadcasting
from the car.
From the car.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
On the tubes.
I suppose that I should put this on Twitter real fast and just let everybody know what's going on.
Couldn't hurt.
Let's see. We'll do this to the Viking Brent account. It's a first for the Drive Home Breakdown crew, we are broadcasting live from the car on our way to see Civil War. All right, let's post that. Okay, and now we got to get going because we're going to be late otherwise.
Yeah, we may actually not see, so we're going to get there. No, I'm just kidding. We should have put that. Yeah, man. Well, so this is kind of crazy.
It is. And crazy. If you are hanging out in chat, watching the show, let us know how it sounds. I did a test of this earlier. There's a little bit of audio pop and crackle, that kind of thing, but I don't know if that's going to be a problem now or not. So just let us know about that. Hopefully,
if it's going to sound okay. If it is egregious, give us a shout and we'll see if there's anything we can do.
Yep. All right.
Just warning you. There might not be anything.
There might not be anything that we can do. That is a possibility.
But please let us know so that we can know that, in fact,
that there's nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do.
All right, so let's since we're here and we're going to see Civil War, and obviously Civil War makes me think of Batman v Superman and how much it sucked. So let's talk about that. Did you?
Sorry, I'm bringing up.
Oh, is that us?
Yeah.
All right, so here's my question to you.
Yes.
Did you see the story this week? All right. Well, okay. No. Did you see the story last week that Ben Affleck has been made an executive producer on Justice League?
I did not. I don't know that doesn't really surprise me at all, though. Like, seems like he for Zack Snyder obviously is the initial driving force of this
Enterprise
train, right? the situation. Yes. And Ben Affleck, though, does seem to be someone who took quite a huge interest in it, and he really apparently pushed super hard to be Batman, and of course his kind of like the deal was, I want to do other Batman films, not just be.
And we know that's happening.
And we know that's happening.
They've inked a deal. He's going to direct and star in.
I'm not terribly surprised by that. I am a little surprised he'd want to do any other movie ever again after Batman versus Superman.
Okay, interesting you say that because the story this week, and this was reported by MovieWeb.
Okay.
And what they were talking about is why Affleck has been made executive producer of Justice League.
Okay.
And the reason, according to them,
alrighty,
the reason is that he was furious with the response to Batman v Superman.
Like, let me ask though.
Like,
at whom?
Towards
the audience's reaction to it, or towards the studios?
Well, that's not made clear, but maybe
Okay.
it's implied in what happens next. So according to this report, which their source is unnamed sources inside Warner Brothers, so take it with a grain of salt.
Jeff.
No one's going on. Yeah, it's Jeff, Supreme
Jeff
Leader
Warner
Jeff.
Brothers.
But according to these unnamed sources inside of Warner Brothers, Affleck was furious at the reaction to Batman v Superman.
Okay.
And they put him in the executive producer seat of Justice League, and as a way of allowing him to have greater control over what's going to happen in the DC Extended Universe. And they actually use the phrase in the article. They say that with this move, Affleck has edged out Zack Snyder a bit.
Wow. Okay.
And so they're making it sound as if Affleck's like, look, this movie fucking sucked, and if you want me to hang around for these things, these movies aren't going to fucking suck. And they're like, well, what if we put you in charge? At some level.
I do.
That's the implication.
I like that thought. I like the thought, because I will say, Affleck by no means was the downfall of that film.
No.
He wasn't the thing that really made it an issue.
None of the cast were really the problem. Jesse Eisenberg maybe.
Yeah, but even I don't necessarily blame him so much as I blame the. What's this say?
Yo, your name is too tiny on the screen to read it.
We're reading this off of an iPhone from 6 feet away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't even necessarily blame him for that. I think that was just creative choice. Yada yada yada.
Right.
So I couldn't tell. I know you always see the classic second viewing of Sad Affleck when he was getting that interview and everything. But prior to that, he seemed pretty happy with the film. Did he not?
Well, he was certainly okay,
or at least putting that face on.
He was certainly promoting it that way.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. Part of his contract, part of what he's getting paid for, is to sell that fucking movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is a breakdown I'm definitely looking forward to. Well, thank you very much. That looks like Addicts 2525.
Yeah, we are looking forward to it as well. I think by far, unless I'm crazy, this is the thing we've been the most looking forward to for,
I've been
probably
almost
all year. I guess you could maybe say at the end of the year, Rogue One will be something I think we'll both be very excited about.
I'm very excited about that.
In fairness, though, I think that one's more of like this, what's that going to be about? Whereas Civil War is like, I can't fucking wait to see Civil War.
I know.
But yeah, it definitely is it definitely is it is going to be exciting. So, kind of getting back to the sort of talk, the Batman v Superman news. I don't find that too surprising, but I do think that there is a chance that.
Oh, hey, Simon Daly, nice to see you.
That. I do think there's a chance that, it just makes me wonder, is that necessarily a good thing? Does Affleck also have the right vision for where these films need to go going forward? I dare say anyone different would be an improvement. So so I'm okay.
Well, I think that one thing that I see a lot of people...
If only to change the tone. I'm not saying that I hate Snyder. I don't like his vision for where he's been taking this.
No, I think that one thing I see a lot of people talking about, and everyone seems to agree on to one degree or another, is that Affleck he's got some directing chops.
Yeah.
And I think that people are pretty excited about... so no matter how you feel about Affleck as Batman, which I'm not prepared to say he's my favorite Batman ever, but I think he did a good job in Batman v Superman. I think his Batman is solid.
I'm with you there.
And I'm excited about the prospect of him directing a Batman film, given the fact that he did a pretty solid job with the character and he's got a very solid track record as a director. So that's all good. Now, if you go back to what Kevin Smith has said about Affleck, and that he's this huge Batman fan, that he's got a huge love for the character and the comics, and can never understood why they didn't do the Dark Knight Returns version of Batman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Then
he still apparently probably doesn't know how they have done it.
Exactly. But it sounds like he might be the right guy to move into more of a leadership position in within Warner Brothers as far as the DC Extended Universe goes.
Yeah.
Even if he's not, say, like, you know, the comic book encyclopedia of like a Kevin Smith, even if he doesn't have the vast experience with the characters and the universe of, say, like a Bruce Timm, if nothing else, I think that people have more faith that he is a more competent storyteller than Zack Snyder is.
I would agree with that, and it will be interesting because I'm assuming Zack Snyder is still
directing.
He is still, and he is still one of the executive producers as well, right? Or his wife, or whatever.
I assume, yeah, Deborah, I think.
And so I mean, it's not as if he, you know, Ben's just going to be able to, like, you know, right this train if he sees it going off the trails, but he definitely is going to have more impact, insight on it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll ever know how much of a leadership role he's got. I will tell you one thing: Affleck's got an Oscar sitting on his shelf, and Snyder doesn't.
That is very
so
true.
For whatever that may count, you know, I guess we'll see.
And you have to give him credit, you know, for Argo. That is a very good point. From
I think it's Addicts.
Addicts, yeah. Sorry, I can't on the stupid chat thing. I can't see the names.
The app that we're using to live stream, it's just like the chat room is like so small.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So it's really difficult to drive and read names.
Yeah, but you're definitely. I mean, that's absolutely right. And you know, this is the thing. I think I would have been more excited if it was something like they said, yeah, you know, we talked to Zach, he's actually out, Ben's in as the director. That would make me more excited. The fact that he's merely executive producer, not saying that's a small part, but it definitely, the director does drive the film. Yeah. And so it you know, I would be much more excited if we heard that Affleck was directing it, because to be honest with you too, I also feel like that would help. It wouldn't put his whole focus on just me in the film acting.
Yeah.
It would actually be like, okay, I need to make sure everyone in the film is represented properly.
Everyone's part is serviced right.
Yeah, which I think is there's just very different roles, you know.
But here's the one thing: the executive producer does have some fucking pull when it comes to the script.
Yeah.
And you know that and especially on a big studio film like this, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that there's not directors that go in there and have 100% control. It just depends on the person and the deal. I guarantee you Ridley Scott's got 100% control of the script on his films. Yeah. But on a big tentpole movie like this, where, you know, they're banking a sizable percentage of the studio on this film turning a profit, and hopefully a bigger profit than Batman v Superman. But in those kinds of situations, there's usually not as much control over the script, typically in the Hollywood system, you know, because they want to make sure that they're squeezing every bit of juice out of it that they can, that, you know, they've got the merchandising points in the film in place to sell the fucking toys and all that shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if even if Affleck's not directing, if he's got any input, and I get the impression from the article that is what he's getting, that maybe he's got a little bit more control over the script.
Yeah.
And then, you know, his input is going to be implemented.
Yeah,
that could work out okay. That actually gives me a little bit of hope, maybe, that they're going to, from a limping start, maybe they're going to get into a sprint here.
It also gives me the point that I think that you know, just any kind of focus that they're showing that, hey, look, we realize that a lot of people didn't get what they wanted to out of this film. Oh, sorry, the audio is cutting out pretty bad. Oh, all right. Yeah, we are doing this on LTE in East Tennessee. So
God knows how it's going to be.
We do apologize.
This is the first time we've done this, so, you know, we're not exactly sure. I mean,
yeah, but do give us feedback. Like, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, definitely let us know what's going on.
We won't be able to do anything about it. I just want to throw that out there, but still,
because we are in motion and all that, we won't be able to mess with too much. But hopefully, you know, as time goes on, we can get the kinks worked out. All right, so what's Addicts saying there?
Addicts saying, I love Watchmen and 300, but Watchmen is a parody of superheroes, so it isn't relevant experience for Superman, really. And I do agree. Like, that's the thing with Watchmen. Watchmen is such a different feel as a comic book.
Yeah.
You know, it was like one of those first comic books that really, it went to the depth that I read. Yeah, exactly.
That just turned the superhero genre on its head.
And also the one that I think went to the depths. They hit on certain things that looked at superheroes from a little different angle prior to that, maybe, but not to the extent that they did with Watchmen.
That story is just incredible.
Exactly, and that's the thing, though. I almost think that you could kind of argue that, you know, Batman v Superman had that sort of a tone.
Yeah,
and that's not the tone that it's supposed to have.
Well, and it's an interesting point, because I can't remember where I read this. It might have been on Kotaku, but I read a story somewhere in, I don't know, the week or so after we saw Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
And the article was
This
talking
podcast
about,
brought to you by Batman v Superman. I just want to throw that out there.
If only we could get on that Batman v Superman tip, son.
Superman money.
But the article was talking about an interview Zack Snyder gave promoting Watchmen, in which he addressed, like, I think somebody actually asked him, would you be interested in doing like a Superman film? Of course, this is years before he does Man of Steel.
Sure.
And he said no. Superman is such a squeaky clean character, and I just think that like the characters in Watchmen are so much more interesting because they're not just that that white hat good guy, and the rough around the edges and all that shades of gray and all that shit.
Yeah.
He said, no, I wouldn't. I don't think Superman's all that interesting a character for these reasons, and so it's fascinating to read that answer and then see him do Man of Steel and see how he basically tries to turn Superman into.
He tries to make Superman in what he finds interesting.
Right, more of a less of a white hat, more of a rough around the edges gray character that that wouldn't be completely out of sorts in a Watchmen universe.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is that Snyder tried to make a version of Superman that was interesting to him. It's just that he completely upended how many years? 75, 80 years of the character now?
Yeah.
And it's not as and the article goes on to point out like all of these great Superman storylines from from the Donner film to the animated series to the comics. It's like there are plenty of writers who have figured out how to make this character work within the parameters.
Yeah, and this is one of those
of his definition.
I think sometimes directors look so. By the way, we're doing a 3:15 show.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
I'm moving.
I'm just giving him a hard time. No, I think we're on schedule for it. Yeah, that interview is funny. Although I think that Alex was saying about the interview story being funny because I think the whole point is he's saying that at that time because nobody was throwing a Superman movie at him. I'm sure. And I mean, not knocking him, but it's just one of those things like I'm sure that's like, hey, I'm promoting Watchmen right now.
But that just shows how short-sighted he is if he doesn't realize that could be in the fucking cards.
I'm not even saying I don't think he meant what he said, but it definitely came from the perspective of like, hey, look, I'm here to talk about Watchmen, like, kind of thing. But I think that was that's a very good point. I tell you, the thing that I think sometimes too happens is it seems like a few of these, like in this situation specifically, I think Snyder looks at Superman, the character, as the problem. Like he kind of sees like, I just don't find that character problem. Well, then why not look at other characters around Superman? The fact that Superman a lot of times has it's the situation going on around him and the way his character is written to like handle those things. Like what happens when something around him happens that is difficult for him to deal with, that he doesn't have a squeaky clean easy fix for. That's what they should go after. Look at the stories around him, not necessarily trying to be like, we need to make him like the Punisher or something. Like just I don't get that need. No. But anyway, it's I'm definitely for Affleck having more. I'm really, first off, want anybody else to have a little bit more of a hand in this. I am definitely down with Affleck helping from the story perspective more. And frankly, I am happy to see that DC, it seems like, I won't say backpedaling because it's not necessarily backpedaling, but the fact that they are admitting to some degree that there are some issues there are some fears from people. And the one thing I do love about capitalism is when you hear your audience saying things like, I don't know if I like that. I didn't really care for that too much. I thought it should be that.
To fix it quickly.
They want to fix that, to make sure that they can
because they want that money. They want that money.
But it's a good profit motive. Make the item that your clientele wants.
I agree. I was very encouraged by this news. I posted to Twitter, I never thought that I'd say that Ben Affleck might be the thing that saved the DC Extended Universe, but God damn it, if Ben Affleck might not be the thing that saves the DC.
And I remember both of us being a little apprehensive when it was very first announced way back in the day. But I really, I can absolutely say that was for naught. Like he was definitely not
he
not
definitely
the
won me over.
All right, I just want to say a couple of
let's catch up on chat a little bit.
XBloodyX, thanks guys. We're enjoying this. We look forward to it. Sorry about the audio issues. I'd say we're working on them, but we're not.
We're not working
on them, just so you know that. But let us know.
But we'll go back later and see if we can work it out.
And Rob, it's good to hear from you. We're hoping to. We're looking forward to it too, man. Addicts is saying that he's always thought that the Suicide Squad looked better. I will admit, the very first things I saw from Suicide Squad did not get me terribly excited.
Yeah.
But like the last couple of trailers, and also since we've heard that they've kind of gone back,
and reshot a bunch of things to try to make it funnier.
I don't necessarily want like every movie, every movie has to be mainstream and it has to have a love story, it has to have comedy, and it has to have this, that, and the other. But I gotta be honest, I feel like there are certain movies that do sort of need that. Like that, there is. I mean, comic books are fun and funny and full of action, but they're also full of drama. They're full of love. They're full of intrigue. I mean, there's all the thing that is so great about comic books is they have always been, and people now, that weren't into comics as kids, are starting to realize these things, that they are just about these amazing characters in these amazing situations.
Yep.
And a lot of times those situations aren't all that different from the things that you and I live through, but they just are on a different scale. And you get to have blasters and stuff, and cool, and cool and very colorful attire. But what do you think about Suicide Squad? Though?
I remain hopeful. I mean, I think a lot of people, like we've heard rumors that basically like what we saw in that first trailer, not like that first kind of teaser. I think that was more like the sizzle reel, like maybe what they showed at Comic-Con. I think.
Yeah.
But the first trailer, the one that had Bohemian Rhapsody playing over it, that everyone was like, "Oh my God, this kicks ass!"
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, Bohemian Rhapsody kicks a lot of ass, and you put images to that, and it works out pretty good as a trailer.
It was a fantastic trailer.
It was a great trailer, but everybody said like basically that was every laugh in the film in that trailer.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers possibly, like I don't know like how fast the wheels were in motion if they were already doing that, but I guess in reaction to the trailer, Warner Brothers said,
that didn't come out post, the BBC.
I can't remember if it came out before or after.
I think
had no
it did.
idea.
I feel like it came out after, because I think I remember us even talking to each other, just saying like, that's got to be they've got to have at least been taking some of this, that the tone of Batman vs Superman was just a little too dark,
a little too dry, serious.
A little too dry, yeah.
But anyway, so supposedly they went back and they spent all this money on these major reshoots and went back in and rewrote a bunch of stuff and just basically tried to funny up the movie, basically tried to make it more fun. And I think that's a great idea because people seem to react pretty positively to what was presented in that first trailer, which was a fun movie.
And I would think of Suicide Squad as kind of, I would feel like if somebody were to say like, what do you think the tone of a Suicide Squad movie should be? I would say a dark action comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like the jokes might be, kind of grim.
It's going to be some of it's going to be kind of black humor,
but
humor.
I think that's perfect for that.
Yes.
But I do think it should have it. I don't think it should just be this dark, depressing film because I think the whole point of the Suicide Squad was it was this kind of crazy idea.
Yeah.
The initial concept for the comic and everything.
So I remain hopeful on that. I think that I actually am a little bit more optimistic knowing that they've gone back and have tried to address the film a little bit. That could work out. That could work out good. So, I guess what I'm saying is, I really hope that after this kind of stumble with Batman v Superman, I really hope that Warner Brothers is starting to kind of wake up to. I think the fact that their whole execution was kind of ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to hopefully get that together. Which leads us to, and this is the last thing I'll say in regards to the DC Universe, which leads us to the video that I posted from YouTube of the DC executive talking about...
I don't know. For those of you who haven't seen it, you have to go, how long was that? That was maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube and you just search for DC Executive Explains, you're gonna find a video with like a toothless guy with...
they somehow
with a
snuck
mustache
cameras into
ponytail.
Warner Brothers offices.
Okay, so it's this meme video. It's this mashup video from a Spanish language talk show. This guy talking about I have no idea what, but somebody's overlaid subtitles of him explaining what's wrong with Batman v Superman.
Think of like the Hitler. What was the Hitler scene?
Yeah, it's like the Hitler reacts to me.
The Hitler reacts like type of video, except
it's that kind of thing.
It's from this Spanish talk show where this guy's just losing his mind. The thing is,
trying to tell the story, just laughing his ass off. Anyway,
man.
it's not funny to explain it. You got to go watch it. It's on my Twitter feed. It's on YouTube. Just search for DC Executive Explains, and you'll find it. Oh my God, it's good.
So, XBloodyX actually did point out a good point too, that a lot of this could also be a response to how popular Deadpool was. And I think
that's gotta.
It's kind of funny, and I hate to say it because Deadpool just came out this week, but I have slightly forgotten about it. Not like I've forgotten about the movie, but I had forgotten just how hugely enormous that was. I mean, that movie.
That movie profited more than Batman v Superman's going to.
That movie profited like something like, I mean, it's at least 12 or 13 times its budget at this point.
It's crazy.
So yeah, that's a great point. I do think, you look at a movie like that where it is. I mean, well, in all fairness, Deadpool probably is exactly or very similar to the tone that you would maybe hope for a
Suicide Squad could go. It could go those places definitely.
And that's a fantastic. Fantastic call out.
Deadpool's a great segue over to the Marvel universe.
Start seeing Marvel movies today.
Well, did you see? Okay, so like Simon Kinberg, there was a story this week that he says that the next X-Men film, the one after Apocalypse, as they have been doing through these different eras, First Class was the 60s, Days of Future Past 70s, Apocalypse 80s. The next one's going to be in the 90s. Which is awesome because, I mean, that's like when you and I were really into X-Men. And of course, this calls to mind. All right, so we did Deadpool. Yeah. They're already saying the next Deadpool movie is going to be like Deadpool and Cable. Yeah. So they're going to introduce Cable. New Mutants are coming in.
Yep.
My question is, do you think that the next X-Men film might be Strife? You think it might be Cable and Strife?
It's possible. I have a feeling they've
definitely they've got the whole the time travel thing is down.
Yeah.
Bishop is in there. I mean, a lot of the pieces are in place.
To me, it's so until we see what Apocalypse does, and how it handles certain things. I will admit, and I think it's kind of I think we maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe we're going in slightly different directions on this. The more I see from Apocalypse, the more I kind of cool on it a little bit. And I don't.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting more excited. I think.
I will say I like certain aspects of it, but I don't know. There's certain things that keep me a little apprehensive as well. And not by no means do I think that's gonna be garbage.
Yeah.
But I'm nowhere near as excited as I was prior to Days of Future Past. And honestly, to be honest, First Class wasn't really on my radar until you kind of got me into it because I was so burned on X3 that I was just like, if I hear the words X-Men ever again and related to a film, I might shoot somebody. But I loved it. Loved First Class.
Yeah.
Even more so loved Days of Future Past. I'm a bit apprehensive. I'm just apprehensive with what I don't exactly know how I feel about it. Like what I've seen so far does not get me terribly excited. But that I also don't want a movie that the trailer is amazing and then I go into the movie and I'm like, oh well, yeah, the trailer was probably better than the movie.
And the thing that I'll give them credit for is that the trailers, they have not ruined too much of the movie for me. I'm not going into this feeling I've seen entire scenes from the film in the trailers already.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right.
That gives me a little bit of hope that maybe they're really holding back the good stuff for the film.
Sure.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right.
There's just a little too, and I'll tell you honestly, I think I just remembered there's a little too much Olivia Munn cosplay feel to the trailers so far, and I'm not. I don't know.
I am totally fine with Olivia Munn cosplaying Psylocke, baby. Totally fine.
See you, XBloodyX. Thanks for listening up, man. He's gonna check us out on the drive home afterwards. So,
all right, cool. So
yeah, it's
more X-Men real fast.
Yes.
They announced this week Wolverine 3, the last one with Hugh Jackman, rated R.
Yeah, and that is definitely a
it's
reaction
about
to
fucking
Deadpool.
time.
That is absolutely a reaction to Deadpool, I think.
Yeah.
That's one of those where I think they always were trying to walk this line. And frankly, the first X-Men and Wolverine movies, X-Men especially, an R-rated movie for a property that, at least externally, is seen as a younger audience.
Yeah.
It would have been a very hard proposition to get through. I mean, there's really no way to make that it would be hard. Me as a movie exec being like, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't know.
But now we you know we're cut to. I mean, what the first X-Men was what 2000?
Yeah,
2000, something like
2000.
that. I mean, we are 16 years, you know, into the future, and to be frank, a lot, you know, a lot of that audience that was for has grown up.
That's right. They're not 12 anymore.
And just in general, I think people are more accepting of comic book movies are not for kids
Exclusively. Yeah.
They can be anything, just like any other, you know, medium, you know, whatever you want it to be. So
except for video games, which are only for kids.
Well, but see, that's exactly what I was about to say. I kind of hope that at some point that changes as well. And I actually think, you know, the games themselves have started going in that, you know, direction more so.
Certainly.
Like comics did kind of in, you know, 80s, 90s. You know, they started taking on, I mean, even 70s. They've always sort of, you know, gotten into darker stuff. And now you look at comics now, and I think they handle stuff as serious in tone as anything.
Yeah. It runs the gamut.
Yeah. And video games are doing that now. So I feel like, you know, you go in the future a little bit, and we'll definitely see that more and more. But yeah, I think that's the right move. I think we need a Wolverine that is vicious.
Yeah.
You know, we need just in tone.
Hacking off limbs. I mean, like in the first
hacking off
couple
limbs, picking up the limbs, and beating people to death with the hacked off limbs.
In the first couple of panels of the Wolverine solo comic, Wolverine #1.
Yeah.
You know, he's like infiltrating. I can't remember. It's like a drug compound in Madripoor or something like that. He's going in commando style. The guards are coming after him, and I mean, he kills like 5-6 guys in the first panel. Like somebody hacks at him with a sword. It shatters on his skeleton. He like lops an arm off. You know. I mean, he is a vicious character, and they should have been representing him like that, at least in the solo films from the beginning. But I understand that Deadpool had to open that door.
And exactly, and I think you needed that open. I think you also just needed the character to grow. Maybe you almost have to say the fact that, you know, Deadpool wouldn't have gotten made had you know, the X-Men and Wolverine movies not been making money.
All these things folded into each other.
It's they all sort of begat one another. Just real quick, Neil is saying that he watched it over the weekend, and we are going to love it. Neil, I'm holding you to that. What are you going to do for us if we do not love it?
I think that
I need an answer.
I really have tried to maintain my expectations on this film, but it's been so hard since it opened overseas 2 weeks ago.
Yes, yeah.
And so I've managed to remain spoiler free miraculously.
And in all fairness, this is what, Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've had a couple days, and I will say normally, you know, we try to see it by the weekend or at least a couple days. I mean, you know, it's we are starting to get into that time frame of like it's almost understandable for people to let stuff slip.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've really luckily I saw one little panel, and it's like one of those things. I'm on like a video game webpage.
Yeah.
And I saw one little panel that said like, you know,
blah, blah, blah.
Hey, some skank, you know, hooked up with this person, da da da, and then like one of them just said like, you know, the thing we loved about Iron Man was this or something, you know, and I was like, no. You know, and like just like they had to look away.
La.
So it's like it's one of those things where you gotta be careful. But anyway,
I'm so excited that we're here, and we are here. We're actually getting off at the exit.
Actually here
right now. So I'm so happy that we're here. We've managed to remain spoiler free.
Yep.
And we're gonna finally see this thing and see what all the hubbub's about.
So because it is getting close, and we actually we need to get.
We're gonna have to run in.
Probably gonna run in. So we'll kind of wrap things up here. We do appreciate everybody that's checking out the live stream. We know it sounds like the audio has been maybe cutting out a little bit, and for that we do apologize.
We're definitely going to try to fix that. In the future. And also, we're recording this the way that we normally do on our high quality recorder. So the high quality version of this will be going up later.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we're literally driving up here. That's my favorite word, and
it is. You also really like to be honest.
I like to be
brutally honest.
I like to be brutally honest at times.
I like fundamentally. I like being fundamental.
Your fundamentals are legit.
That's right. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching the live stream.
We did get a question real quick. Are we doing the drive back live? That one I don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to check my data usage and see how much I've burned through doing
yes,
this.
That's a good point.
So we may do the drive back live. I don't know yet, but we will post to Twitter if we do. So just keep an eye on my Twitter @VikingBrent because I might not have time to cross post.
How long is the movie? Like
2 hours,
I think I heard it's the longest Marvel movie too. So
Ever,
it's like
huh?
it's got to be like 2.5 or something. So just check back with us here in maybe 2.5 hours or so, and hopefully
We'll let you know.
we will have a clean change of trousers.